Hello and welcome to Beyond the Scale. Today we welcome Emily Penton. Emily has a powerful story of what she's overcome in her life, what she has created with her many gifts, and what she brings to us every day. We're so pleased to welcome her and to learn how meat changed her life. Emily, thank you so much for being with us today. We know that you just had your 4-year carniversary. So we just wondered if you'd tell us a little about how you began everything, about your health journey. Did you go all in with meat? Was it gradual? Yeah.
Thank you, Grace, so much for having me, Stephanie and Amy. It's such a blessing whenever somebody wants to hear what I have to say. So I appreciate that so much. Because a lot of people are just like, oh my gosh, don't listen to her. She's a crazy girl.
Oh, oh,
But so honored to be here, to be able to have this conversation with you guys and to hopefully help other people and to offer hope, because it's so miserable.
mhm.
So yeah, I actually jumped right in, and I attribute that to my mental health, my mental illness, I should say. One of the beautiful things about being bipolar, having bipolar disorder, was I was a rip the Band-Aid off kind of a girl. And so I just wanted to jump in. Once I realized that there was a possibility that eating only meat could resolve my mental illness hell, my bipolar disorder, I was just like, just do it, just get it over with. And I was such a sugar and a carb addict and such a binger that I just jumped right in. I don't recommend that for most people, because it really was a very difficult transition for me. I think that a lot of times it is better for people, especially neurotypical people. For neurotypical people, I think it would be better to just gradually go in. But for me, with the bipolar disorder, I just needed to jump in. And so I went overnight from the standard American diet of eating cookies and cakes and donuts and chips and beer and wine and all the things to only animal meat and animal fat. But I did allow myself to eat whenever I wanted and whatever amounts I wanted, as long as it was animal meat and animal fat. So that was how I started my journey.
I love that. I wonder, will you tell us a little bit about your health history with, yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, I had bipolar disorder. I had been going to a psychiatrist for 8 years on medication. I'd been suffering from bipolar disorder pretty much my whole life. Like I can track it back into like, probably 12 years old, 13 years old. Just that negative self-talk and that just depressive episodes and then manic episodes. And it was literally controlling my life. And then all through my 20s, oh my goodness, did it control my life and my dating and random marriages and just horrible life decisions. And then, so the whole reason why I started this was to resolve my symptoms of bipolar disorder. Little did I know what was lurking in the shadows was I have been suffering from symptoms of multiple sclerosis for 10 years. And once I got diagnosed, I could look back and go, oh, that's why this and that's why that. But my onset was I had acute dysphagia where I literally could not even swallow water. And so I was hospitalized and they did an MRI, they did a lumbar puncture, they did all the blood work. And they found out that I had multiple sclerosis. So here I have bipolar disorder and I have multiple sclerosis. And at one point I couldn't walk without an assistive device. And I had delayed and slurred speech and more significant brain fog with the MS than I ever had with the bipolar disorder. I was at rock bottom. I was completely debilitated. And I just kept eating animal meat and animal fat, resolved the bipolar disorder symptoms, which baffled my psychiatrist, baffled me. I did not expect that. And then resolved my multiple sclerosis. And thankfully, my next appointment with my neurologist was supposed to be me starting the injectables. And so I didn't have any symptoms that next appointment. And I told him, let's just wait till the next appointment. And then let's just wait till the next appointment. And then I just never had symptoms. And it's been for May 9th will be 4 years now since I've had any multiple sclerosis symptoms. So it's a gamble. I know that it's very tricky whenever you're navigating this yourself, to go against the neurologist's recommendations to inject yourself with medication. But that was my gamble. That was my decision to take my health into my control. And I told my neurologist, I said, it's your job to monitor my multiple sclerosis. I'm going to treat it. And so far it's working out. So far it's a good gamble.
Unbelievable.
That is amazing. Just mind-blowing results. In how long had you had the MS symptoms?
I can look back 10 years. I was at a restaurant, and all of a sudden I was just eating normal food, and my throat wouldn't swallow the food, just totally stopped. And I like sat there. I remember I was across this table from my father, and he just looked at me, and I looked at him, and I just couldn't swallow. And it was just, and it would happen so randomly, and it would happen like once or twice a year. And then it would happen once every 6 months. Then it would happen every month, that like all of a sudden I would just be eating a random breakfast, random lunch, and then my throat just wouldn't swallow. And I never knew what it was. And of course I had, oh my gosh, so much pain in my joints and my knees, everywhere, all in my back, all throughout. And everyone just kept saying, you're just getting old. You're just getting old. And it wasn't until my MS completely resolved that I literally have no pain. I wake up and I do CrossFit every morning now, and I have no pain. And I was just like, pain isn't part of our existence. Pain isn't part of our life. And it wasn't until I reduced the inflammation that I don't have pain anymore. But I just thought that was just part of aging.
Wow.
Can I just ask real quick, have you had like follow-up MRIs and seen the improvement there as well?
Yeah, I've had I believe 6 MRIs, and I just recently decided to stop having MRIs because of the contrast that they put in you. I just don't want to take that gamble. And my last MRI showed no new MS activity. And it said that. And from my first MRI, because I know it's confusing, but I started eating carnivore before I knew I had MS. Mm-hmm. And so I started eating carnivore, and then I got hospitalized. So a logical person would have been like, oh, I started this all meat diet, and now I'm hospitalized with MS. But it was that the carnivore revealed what was going on under the surface. Obviously, carnivore didn't cause the MS. And so my first MRI was, at the onset, and then they did one a month later. And from the first month to the second month, the second MRI, my lesions reduced by 50%. So I was just like, okay, I'm doing something right, and then it just kept going. And now it says no MS activity.
Wow.
And no symptoms.
Wow.
Mind blowing.
Yeah.
Really?
I treated patients, gave them infusions for MS for years and years, and watched their MRIs and everything worsen. And so I can't even tell you how excited I am to hear this. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Emily, you mentioned getting up and doing CrossFit. So kind of walk us through what a day in the life of Emily looks like now. Like, what are you eating? What do you include? Are you still very strict with just meat and animal fat, exercising, self-care practices? What do you have in place that kind of keeps you moving forward?
Well, my day starts with what time I go to bed. And so I go to bed by like, I start around 9. My goal is to be out cold by 10. And so that's very, very important to me. I can't just like, be up scrolling, Facebook and social media and, whatever, and YouTube. It's very important to me that I get that sleep, because I go so hard so early. Ideally, I would like my CrossFit class to be at like 6 or 7, but unfortunately it's at 5. And so I'm really good with the tribe mentality. And so I love just all I have to do. My only job is to show up at the gym, and then the rest takes over. The group's there, the coach is there. And I love CrossFit. I love lifting heavy weights. It just feels so good to be so strong. And so I wake up, this is a lot. I know it's crazy, but I wake up at 3:30 every morning and I meditate. The reason why I have to go to sleep is so that I can stay awake during meditation. I meditate, I pray, I read my scripture, because even though I start my CrossFit at 5 a.m., it's so important to me to start with my scripture, with my prayer. And that practice has literally transformed my life. But I couldn't do it before because I was barely getting through every day. So then I go to CrossFit, and I'm there by, a little bit before 5. Do my CrossFit. I'm done by 6, come home, and then I eat. And it depends. Most of the time that's when I eat. Sometimes I'm fasting. Sometimes I eat 2 meals a day. Sometimes I eat 1 meal a day. It just depends on what's going on. I listen to my body. And then I go outside, and I live in Missouri, so it's really, really cold. Sometimes it's like 10 degrees, but I still go outside. I get the sun in my eyes, and I put my bare feet on the ground. Sometimes I have 5 layers, but I still get my feet on the ground, and I get the morning sun in my eyes. And then I get started with my day.
That's
And
amazing.
Whenever you do eat, what does that usually include? Is that, again, just the meat? Have you started adding anything back in?
Yeah. I didn't add anything back in, because honestly, it's kind of like a PTSD response whenever you've had such a horrible reaction, that you're just like, okay, can we just stay here? Can we just stay here? Like I'm safe. I'm safe. I don't want to venture out. And I really, really, really enjoy not having cravings.
Yes.
I was such an addict before. And so I don't enjoy opening up that door to all the cravings. But recently I have been able to reintroduce yogurt, like Greek yogurt, full fat yogurt, no flavor, and sauerkraut, and sweet potato, and butter on the sweet potato. There's something else. Cottage cheese. But I use those very sparingly, the cottage cheese and the yogurt, very sparingly. The sweet potato, I would say once every 2 weeks. Sauerkraut, about the same as well. So it's just nice that whenever I go out to a restaurant or something that I'm able to like participate with everybody. But I've noticed that it's really not, it's not that big of a deal for me. And I'm really grateful for that. What I usually eat, it started out, like I said, just all animal meat and animal fat. And then over the first year, everything was cooked. And near the end of the first year, I realized that I was feeling very emotional when I would eat chicken. I wasn't sourcing it from a good source. It was just from Walmart. It was just the grocery store chicken. Because I was actually on food stamps living in a camper my whole first year of carnivore. And so I was getting the cheapest I could. And I realized that I just didn't feel good on chicken. So I switched to beef only. And it really helped me with my mood. I mean, it made me feel so much better, so much more in control. And then I just stuck with the beef, but I started getting a reaction to the grocery store beef. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is ridiculous, you know? And it was right around that time that I lost my food stamps. And so it worked out that I was able to just go to a local farmer and say, okay, here's $100. How much can I get for $100? And I was able to transition to just local farm fresh, regenerative, grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And that's where I feel best now. Push the envelope of laziness because this is a very easy way to eat, very easy way to shop and prep and everything. And I said, what if I don't have to cook it? Because I know it came from the farm and I like it rare. So I just kept eating it rare, more and more rare. And then I just switched to eating it raw. And now that's what I eat. I eat raw ground beef, raw steak, and raw fat, beef fat trimmings from my local farm every day.
Wow. Unbelievable. I just wanted to say, I know you touched on the spiritual part of your day. And I know because I have joined your prayer group and your Bible study on Saturdays. Will you tell us, and they're amazing, by the way, everybody needs to check it out. I can't tell you, it's just so uplifting, and I appreciate you so much for doing that. But I just wanted to say, will you tell us more about how your faith has played a role in all of this?
Absolutely. It is undeniable that there was a miracle that happened the day that I was told about carnivore. I had no hope, and I really was in such a dark place. And I was never a healthy person. I was never a strong-willed person. Everything that I tried, I failed at. At one point, I had been to 5 universities and had in like 3 different states and had a pile of credits and not 1 degree. It was just like I was this start and stop girl. I never completed anything. So for the sheer fact that I went from complete binge eating and the standard American diet to overnight eating only animal meat and animal fat, that's not me, you guys. That's not me. That was the Lord stepping in and giving me that grace. And what it was a knowing. And that's why I call my business Interclarity System, because there's an inner clarity that you have to find. You have to find that knowing. And he really guided me. And I knew that I was just supposed to eat animal meat and animal fat. And specifically the fat was really important to me, because if you think about it, the myelin sheath is deteriorated with MS. And I had to rebuild that myelin sheath on my nerves. And that's what I believe has resolved my multiple sclerosis. And I'm really intentional about my fat. I eat about 10 ounces a day of just beef fat trimmings. And so for me, it was that knowing, that connection. And I've, been a Christian my whole life. I asked Jesus into my heart when I was 4, and then had this tumultuous, like, back and forth relationship with God as I wrestled with my sin and my flesh and just everything, and my depression, and feeling like he wasn't there. But then whenever I got into that carnivore Zen, I was able to sit with him. I was able to have that quiet moment and to be still and to hear him. And I had no idea what that experience was like. And so it like 10x'd my relationship with God, just for me to have that mental clarity and to have that peace and really to realize that the world is not against me. I really thought that like all these things were happening to me. But when I realized I was the one creating the chaos, and now I don't have to participate in that, it was just like, oh, like, okay, thank you. And now oh my gosh, he governs my whole day. Like, he just totally takes over my schedule. And I am so grateful for his direction.
I love that about you, that you share all of that so openly, and just hearing that story, like, it's so relatable to me because I've felt the same way, especially recently, and just feeling closer to God and feeling that faith strengthened so much because, like you described, just the inner clarity. Like, I get emotional talking about it, but
it is emotional because we were in such darkness.
yes,
and it was such an illusion. It was all lies.
right.
It's just lies. And to know the truth and to know that there is so much hope and joy is just, it's so exciting. It's so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. That's exactly how I felt. Probably maybe 4 or 5 months in, just this overwhelming joy and euphoria, and just like nothing I had ever been able to attain in my entire life.
Yeah.
It was really powerful. So we know your faith was strengthened through all of this. How have those results changed your other relationships? Do your husband, your son, your family, do they eat a meat-based diet also? And kind of tell us how that evolved as well, like just your relationships, your closeness, and all of that.
Yeah, my husband does. And it's so funny. I didn't ask him to or anything. I just had him start editing or, proofreading the Interclarity system, because I send out an email, 5 emails a week for 8 weeks. And so there's 40 emails. And so I was just like, hey, babe, look over this. And he started reading over it. And he was like, why don't you want me to do this? And I was like, because you're a grown man, you get to decide what you eat. I'm not going to tell you what to eat. And he was just like, I want to do this. And I was like, then do it, like, go ahead. And he did. And he had pain in his feet. And I didn't realize how bad it was until it was gone. And he was like, babe, I remember as a child, I would go play basketball, and I would rip one of my my baby sister's clean diapers in half, and I would put half of a diaper in the bottom of one shoe and half of a diaper in the bottom of another shoe because my feet hurt so bad.
Oh.
And I was just like, what? And he was like, I have no pain, like no pain. This is craziness. And then, just mental clarity and joy and everything. So that's been amazing. My son actually suffered severely with eczema. And so we have him transitioned into more of a keto diet or low carb. And it's cleared up his eczema. He had the eczema that would ooze, like it would just be like oozy and seepy, and it would just get all over his clothes, and it was really, really bad. And so now to not have open wounds is such an amazing thing. As far as my relationships, that has been very interesting, because just because I changed and I know that I have changed, with bipolar disorder, the person has this track record of ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. So my family has PTSD, not necessarily my husband and my child, but my extended family has PTSD from craziness. Like, I was crazy. I would make these crazy decisions. I would move across the country. I would, marry random people. It was just chaos. And so they're just like waiting for the other shoe to drop. They're just like waiting for me to continue to be crazy. And it's funny because I would think that they would just watch YouTube and just, see my story, but they don't watch YouTube. They're like, every time they see me, they're like, are you still doing okay? You're still working? You're still paying your rent? And I'm like, yep, I'm still here. So I think it's going to take a long time for them. My father has seen the difference. And that has been amazing, because he took me in, when I didn't have a place to stay. And he was just like, you're a different person. And I was like, yeah, I am. And he was just like, this is amazing. And of course, my father is carnivore as well. And he lost like 70 pounds, had congestive heart failure. And so I really don't think we would have kept him this long if he hadn't switched to carnivore. But one thing that I tell my clients, and I tell myself, is that I just need to be me. And there is a destruction path of Emily from 40 years of chaos. It's only been 4 years of this new life. I can't expect everyone to just go, oh, she's okay now. I still have to just keep my focus on me, keep my focus on where I'm at, know that I am a changed person, and they'll figure it out eventually.
I've cried like 5 times. I just hope that you know that the light that you have is so visible, that you have just an incredible way of influencing others. Every time I talk with you after, I'm like, I can do amazing things. And I just hope you know that. I just, you don't meet people.
Here's the thing, Amy. There are so many people out there with light, bright lights. Oh my gosh, just go find your local artist. There are amazing people out there with these bright lights, but they're covered up with this darkness. They're covered up with this heaviness, feeling that they're worthless. And it's a lie. So we just need to pick off the lies and go, hey, baby, you need to shine. Like, you are so great. I had no idea that I was worthy. I had no clue that I had anything good in me until all of this resolved. And I was just like, oh, I really like myself. I really, really like myself. And so that's my goal, is to just bring as much of that to other people, to show them how worthy they are and how valuable they are. And we need them. We need their brilliant minds. We need their brilliant light. We don't need them to stay, covered up with schizophrenia and borderline personality disorder and, all of this worthless feeling. We need them to know how valuable they are.
Mm. I love you.
I love you too.
Will you tell me about Interclarity systems? Um, how do you work with your clients as far as food? Is it a food thing? Do you bring that into it, or how does it all work?
Yeah, food is definitely a foundation because before I have my master's in clinical counseling and I practiced as a therapist, and it was like Groundhog Day because I had my hands tied. I couldn't talk to them about food. Licensing board didn't want me talking about food. The insurance panels didn't want me talking about food. They just wanted me to tell them what modality I was using and continue executing that. And so I would talk to these people and they would have this horrible depression or anxiety or anger management, anger problems. And we would talk and they're sitting there drinking a soda, eating chips, and then it would just be like, okay, here's some homework, here's some exercises, let's try this. And the next week they would come back and have the same problem. Okay, here's some homework, let's try this. And then they'd come back and it was like Groundhog Day. They had the same problems. And so I turned to my other, colleagues and I'm like, what am I a bad therapist? Like, what am I doing wrong? And they're like, oh no, that's what we do. And I'm just like, oh, so they don't get better? And they're like, oh no, you're bringing quality of life, you're letting them vent their stuff. And I'm like, I want results. I want relief. I don't want to just sit here and get paid to spend time with them. I want results. I want them to not need me anymore. And so I quickly realized once I knew this with Carnivore, I realized I don't belong in the mental health field at all. And so I was like, you know what, take the letters from behind my name. I don't care. Just call me a coach. I want to be effective more than anything. And so I really needed to get out of that control model and be a coach. And now I'm so grateful that I'm able to come to people and say, listen, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we need to talk about, but you can't hear me if you're eating the cookies. You can't hear me if you're eating the cake. You can't hear me if you're drinking the soda. I can sit here and waste your time. That's fine. I don't want to. It's not fun for me. It reminds me of, my past job. I want results for you. So let's try to start out with removing the sugar and the processed foods and the carbs. And then we can start really healing and get this. And I always tell them, let's just do it for 30 to 45 days. That's it. Just 30 to 45 days. Call me a liar. Let's try it out. And they're like, okay, I can do it. And then they get to 30 days and they're like, I feel so good. And I'm like, I know. And they're like, I want to do this forever. And I'm like, go do it forever. And then we can talk about, that they were, they had childhood traumas or relational traumas or, self-sabotage or negative self-talk. Then we can really talk about those things. And the main thing that I do with my clients is I support them. And I have an app, or it's not my app, but I use an app called Marco Polo, where we literally sit there and we have video chats back and forth. And it's so important for them to know that they're not alone, that if it's 2:00 in the morning and there's a cake that's in the refrigerator screaming their name, they can send me a Marco Polo at 2:00 in the morning. I'm not going to get it till the next day, but they can put a pin in it and that I'm right there to really support them on their journey.
That's just amazing. Your approach really resonates with me and kind of what Amy and I do, and just approaching everything with just complete non-judgmental empathy and encouragement. And that's an amazing gift. Like whenever you said, we just have to uncover the light, and like that is your gift. And I love that about you. So what kind of results are your clients seeing when you work with them? I mean, what are we resolving with all of this? And I feel the same way. Like I tell my clients, like, I don't want you to need me anymore. Like that's my goal. So what kind of things have your clients seen? What have they resolved?
Anywhere from anxiety to panic disorder, panic attacks, to oh my gosh, binge eating, eating disorders, bipolar disorder. It's been absolutely amazing. Depression. It's been absolutely amazing. Literally, because I went from Groundhog Day to now, I literally see people transform before my very eyes, and I'm just like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And my favorite part, I had this one client, and it was like 3 months in, and she was just like, I, this and this, and today I felt depressed, and I don't know if I ate something yesterday or what, I'm trying to figure this out. And then I went back and sent another Marco Polo to her, and I'm like, you felt depressed and it was noteworthy. That means you haven't been feeling depressed and you noticed it. And she was just like, oh, how did that happen? And I was just like, I know. I was like, it's so amazing. It's just such a gradual shift that you finally are just get to the point where it's just like, instead of, oh, it's 5 o'clock, I'm depressed. Oh, it's 1 o'clock, I'm depressed. Oh, it's Tuesday, I'm depressed. I'm always depressed. Or it's this cyclical thing. It was noteworthy. She was just like, what's wrong? I'm depressed. Something was wrong because she was experiencing depression. And so that's been my favorite part, is literally watching people transform.
Yeah, that's so
That's
amazing.
all we want.
Yes. Emily, I feel like we could just talk with you forever and ever, with everything that you've experienced and all the ways that you're helping your clients and reaching people out in the community, in your Facebook groups, your meetings that you have there. But we want to thank you for being here with us today. We appreciate you so much, everything that you're doing in the carnivore community and also in the mental health community, and your faith and being willing to share all of that with us. It's just beautiful. We appreciate that. So tell us where all people can find you. Well, I know you're on Instagram and you have your Facebook groups, but
the easiest way is to just go to emilypenton.com, and then all the links are there. And I always want to make sure that everybody knows that there are so many amazing coaches out there. There's so many amazing groups out there. What I help is the worst of the worst. I help the people who literally feel like there is no hope for them. And the people who feel like if you gave them a self-organized course, that they know they wouldn't do it. They know that they wouldn't do it. I literally hold people's hands. And what I do is very intense daily individual coaching. And that's why I charge $6,500 for 8 weeks. And it is a lot. You're sitting there going, okay, what? But I would have literally sold my car to have this new life and to have it last. I'm not trying to just do a quick fix here. I'm not trying to just like pump you up for 30 minutes. I'm trying to watch a transformation in your life. And then I also have affiliates where if you find someone with a link, an affiliate link, and you guys can be affiliates if you want to, then it's $1,000 off. So it's $5,500. And that 8 weeks is our intense time that we work together daily. But the really cool part is I have a weekly meeting once you're in there that lasts forever. And you keep that link for life. And so you can pop in 6 months and say, okay, Emily, I'm a little off track, blah, 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 blah. You can pop in a year. You can come every day. Or every week. It's totally fine. So it's kind of a misnomer that it's 8 weeks, because it's really for life that you have that connection with Interclarity system. And so I love that you guys are here and that you're offering this information to our community, because I can't do it all. Like I can't help everybody. And so I'm so grateful to champion and support other people who are sending this message. So thank you guys.
Thank you. We truly appreciate it. And we will have all of those links in the description of this video so people can find you. A healing and somebody to be that devoted is, you can't put a price tag on that.
No.
So that is just amazing. Again, we appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. For everybody watching, make sure you click out those links in the check out those links in the description. Give us a like, comment, let us know how you like this content, and make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you all again soon. Thanks.
Thank you.